Testing.
Yep.
I'm Grandma Nita Gottschalk, and I was born April 17, 1934. I think in the dust storms, I remember Mom saying how they covered up the whole baby bed with wet bed sheets so I wouldn't choke underneath there. And the window wells would be full of dust in the morning. Oh, Verna Mae, who was older, 4 or 5 years older than me, and Wilbert was about 4 years younger than me. Lois Gross and Cecilia. Cecilia used to be a liker. Grandma had it good because she had to get out of the 13 children home and move in with Grandma Engels. So the other brothers and sisters told her she was spoiled. She had a camera, and none of the other kids did. But they went to a lot of ball games, and that's how she met Grandpa Gross, at a ball game. And Munger wasn't very big, I guess. I grew up on the farm. Grandpa Gross inherited from Peter Gross, his dad, great-grandpa, and Grandma lived with us for a long time. We lived in the same household until my mother had it with her mother-in-law, and they rented a little place south of Hayes, south of the farm. She said that was one of her happiest days. Great-grandpa, I just remember Grandpa Gross, that was the farm we lived on, and he loved his turkeys and geese. And we'd go to the outhouse, and the turkeys would be out there waiting for us when we'd come out, and they'd chase us. So on each side of the wall of the toilet, we had a little hole so we could peep out. If the geese or the turkeys were on one side, we ran the other way. It was tough times to go to the outhouse in those days. Didn't get water, I think, until I was probably in the 6th, 7th grade where we got water in the house. Grandpa finally made a nice shower. He'd put 2 big barrels on top of a little wash house, and the sun would warm up that water. We could take a shower. That was quite the showers then. I remember we used to live in the basement, our kitchen, and we'd go upstairs and it was bright lights everywhere. You know, when you were used to the kerosene lamps, they didn't make much lighting. That's all we knew. No, it was an old ice box. Once a week they had to come to town and get a big block of ice, put it in that ice box. We also had an ice cellar with lots of straw in, and then Grandpa would go down and cut ice out of the creek and put it in there. And like I told some of the kids here, I says, Grandpa would buy a whole bunch of watermelons, and they would hide them into the wheat granary to keep until Christmas. Didn't really hide them, but you kind of got hidden because you didn't know where they went to in the wheat granary. Probably the manure. Cut alfalfa, because Grandpa always had alfalfa for his cattle. That smelled good. Clover. He had 2 horses. Before the tractor came, he had horses. He loved his horses. And the worst thing I hated him was when I could go to school in the morning with the old car because everything was frozen. But then when school was over with, I'd look out of the schoolhouse, and there was Grandpa sitting with his favorite horses and a wagon. And we got a ride home because he wouldn't drive his car in that mud. I think I graduated with 12 8th graders. Most of them are gone by now. No, we had different classrooms. 8th graders, 7th and 8th were together, 5th and 6th, 3rd and 4th, 1st and 2nd. You had to take your lunch. The box, you opened up your lunch box, and it smelled like fish or bananas or whatever. We had to feed the calves, and then whenever you wasn't a very good milker, you had a lot of hard pair of jeans because you missed the bucket.
Did you have cats in the...
Oh yeah, we would squirt them and the cats would open their mouths. got their freebies.
Did you
I think we only had about 8 when we milked them, just enough for milk and cream and for the calves. Then we had a separator. We had to separate the cream from the milk. That was a job to wash the separators. Sold the cream.
Oh.
Milk went to the calves. Or probably used it. Had homemade ice cream quite a bit. We didn't have electric turner either. Well, we stayed in the basement a lot because that's where the kitchen was. We had to take turns wetting the gunny sack and hanging over the basement window, so we had a little cool air for a while, and then it got all dried up, the gunny sack. We'd have to go make it wet again. A lot of times we just slept on the porch at night because it was so terrible hot. Took a big quilt and a pillow. That's where we fell asleep. Creek wasn't very deep, but we had fun in the creek. We had some neighbors down there. We would meet them on Sundays, and we found one swimming hole. Well, the swimming hole probably went up to my neck. We didn't go very deep. They took the wagon and big choppers, and they chopped pieces of ice to take in the ice cellar. Well, we had a lot of good ball players. We played softball. I don't know. Probably not hide and seek. It was like dropping something behind you. Then you had to run and catch the guy or whatever. I forgot what they called it. Just thought about it. No. Oh yeah, we played lots of jacks. My sister was good at it. Jump rope, yeah. Dominoes. Grandpa Gross was good at dominoes. No, I don't remember a lot of Christmases either. It must have been poor times. I don't know. I just know one time Mom brought home one of those silver trees, and oh, we were so excited. It had a rotting light underneath that would turn red and green. But we couldn't light it too often because it would take too much electricity. I got a bracelet one time. Nashabella Hess was the catalog. The Grosses that lived about a half a mile from us, maybe more with them. And then my grandma Liker, she always was a good little hearted lady. You would get there and she had a big sack of, usually an orange in there and some peanuts and candy. I don't know, they took him to Kansas City. I think he had a burst appendix or colon maybe. I always thought it was colon, being it's in the family.
And she had 13
Yep.
in them?
Yep.
And your mom was the youngest? How old was she when that
No,
happened?
Mom was one of the older ones. Aunt Mary was the youngest. That's when Grandma had to go stay with the Engels, her and another brother. Because the Engels had a little more money and some of the poor boys that were older than were my mom, they had to move out to a farm. Mom often said, I wonder how they survived. They had to take a gun and shoot a rabbit, and they'd clean it and eat it. It's the only survivor food they got. Well, first thing was Grandma's beets. She always had to have beets and canned them. Then we had that lettuce too. Lettuce was easy to raise because we didn't have much of watering in those days. Carrots, lots of cucumbers, they canned them. And peanuts, I remembered my dad trying peanuts, planted some peanuts and raised them. We didn't know how to fix them then, because I think you have to boil them and then roast them, and we just roasted them with salt on it. They were terrible tasting. Probably her little schnitzelkegler. She would cook the apricots, the dried apricots, and put them on that bread dough. She was good at that. Probably a cookie. So I know we didn't make homemade candy. Sugar was too expensive. So we had one batteried radio, and I don't think it stayed on too long. Yeah, we knew about it. So we were always worried when the airplanes would fly over. I don't know how much we heard about it. I don't know. Maybe there was a newspaper somewhere. I don't know. We never had a newspaper till later. Well, when they butchered, they might have butchered once a year. Pork.
Pork.
Homemade soap. Well, it was something with the grease that they cooked from the grease, I guess, that they cooked from the sausage. I don't know. I remember it was a big black kettle outside. I hated the smell. Same way it was with chickens. Clean the chickens. Grandma Gross would catch the geese and she'd turn them upside down on her lap. And we had feathered pillows all the time with the geese. Their tummy, they have nice soft feathers. All of my clothes was made from feed sacks. Lots of feed sacks. Everything was made from feed sacks. Feed came in, yeah,
Really?
especially when you had baby chicks. Came in nice, beautiful prints, some of them were. But then either you had to pay a bunch of postage or I don't know. Then we came to town and picked it up at the Sears store. It would be shipped in there. That was exciting. Ordered your school shoes or whatever. We all got them out of Sears, probably. Yep, loafers. After that, Grandpa had to be home by 4 to milk the cows. Short trips, if they were. I think the furthest was we'd go over by Marie Gable. Their place was clear over by past Antonina. That felt like miles away. I guess we did go to Hutchison Fair because Grandpa's sister lived in Hutchison. Once a year we got to see them. And the fair. The good smell. Because it was good fried meats that I guess we didn't get at home. I don't know. I guess it was a good life in those days. Everybody lived kind of the same way. When we did go to the movie, it was a star. My first movie Sullivans Are Coming Home, when the 5 brothers were killed all in the war. That was so sad. It's supposed to have been a true story. Well, what is that, 13th? 14th? Must have been 13th Street. Not there anymore. Because I remember Leon Staub living up there. I think they redone it as apartments. Probably cost 10 cents to get in. I don't know. Don't remember. She bossed me around a lot. I don't know. No, it was Verna May. We had to go to get through the creek to get to our mailbox. She had to go to the bathroom and she stopped down by the creek. And then she used a big leaf to wipe her hinder, and she had poison ivy all over her rear end. She was in pain. Walked around the creek and crossed the bridge. And when that flooded there, oh, that was always scary. To go over that bridge, to think maybe it'll cave in and that flood will wash you away. I think I saw it in there. The cattle knew better than to stay down by the creek when it. But it was kind of sad when they got across the creek. We couldn't get them home for several days. They had to stay until the floodwater went down. I went to Hayes High for a while, yeah, and then I stayed in an apartment with Marie Gable and Lorene Kuhn. They both went to Girls Catholic and I went to Hayes High. We got along. We were both cousins. And then I signed up to be a nurse's aide when I was in maybe my sophomore year. I worked 2 years at the hospital. It was big to get a first paycheck. Wow. Can't remember what I even paid with it when I was in high school, senior. Probably through my friends or something. I don't know. It was chaos. Big family. And I always knew I needed more than 3 kids because I thought they always had more fun. They all got along. Oh, the one that they wrenched in at New Year's all the time, Vinjaklik Selisnaisjoa. But I don't know all the other ones. I used to follow Ivan along. I say the same thing. I never did learn it all the way. Oh, yes, Mom knew. I called them the barroom songs because she liked her beer. When they went to Munger to play ball, they always had beer. And at the weddings, And then the Catherine people were called, well, let me see, Shinchin was Santaza, which means rabbits in the sand. And I think some of them were Poach Brunzers. And they probably used the porch to go to the bathroom on. And the Catawbas kept, they had pumpkin heads.
Was that the
I
cat?
think that was Catherine, maybe. And I don't know what Piper had. I think Piper were the Poach Brunzers. Had to be somebody with a big porch. I don't know. A lot of people went fishing in the creek. Yep, they were good in those days because you always had fresh water coming. It's not like now. Ivan did. I didn't. I was scared to death of water. They'd pull out some big ones. They'd have holes in the side of the bank, I think. Oh, 20, 30 pounders. I remember one time it took 2 men to lift them, but they weren't very good. They were too fishy or something. Well, we always started in with animals, I remember. Remember we had the boys wanted rabbits. Then that night, some dog got in and killed the rabbits. And Laura had a chicken. I don't know how she got that chicken. She must have brought it down from school. And it was sitting on her shoulder all the time. She had trained that chicken. Do you remember that chicken? You don't remember that chicken? And we had a rooster. He had spurs 3 inches long. Elmer Vaughnfield came over here, our neighbor, and he said, "God dang, get that thing for chicken soup." He scratched you, he'd jump up on your back of your legs. I think dogs got him later too. He was probably tough. We couldn't have butchered him. And then we had that little calf. Forgot what his name was.
Curly.
Nobody could eat him then. Just followed the kids around. We had lots of dogs. Mark had the broken arm and Jude had a broken arm. Jude, they told him to go hang it in the stock tank till they were done working the cattle. Then they took him in and have a cast put on.